Great to meet you all. As John gave a very favorable introduction to me, I'm Taylor Johnston. I'm the COO of the Institute of Applied Engineering. I am definitely not an academic by trade, for good and for bad. I am a prior Air Force officer, a pilot by trade for 21 and change years. Flew a small to large aircraft, the Air Force ending up in the KC-135 tanker, but also was the director of innovation down here at MacDill Air Force Base prior to retiring from the Air Force 3 years ago, and then moving up to the university as it stands. All right, so the Institute of Applied Engineering is structured very similar to applied research institutes that you may be used to, like Georgia Tech Research Institute or the Applied Physics Lab up at Johns Hopkins, or the Applied Research Institute at Penn State University. We are a multidisciplinary team of engineers, contracting officers, finance folks, program management team that is a distinct federal entity from the University of South Florida. We got our start about 10 years ago now from the acquisition executive at Special Operations Command. And just making sure everybody can see my screen. I'm taking, there's a thumbs up. So so he was sitting down at a bar in Ybor City in Tampa, Florida, with our Dean of Engineering and talking about the work that he was sending up to Johns Hopkins at the time. And the Dean of Engineering said, well, you've got engineers here in town. Why aren't we working better together? And the answer back to him was, well, you're hard to work with and you don't understand our problem set. So that was kind of our impetus to start the Institute of Applied Engineering. Someone at the university who could speak DoD language and translate that to academia, someone who could talk contracting language and not just grant, and someone who could talk the spectrum of the classified realms. So when I say classified realms, everything from unclassified to controlled unclassified to secret to top secret. So that's the impetus for the start of the Institute of Applied Engineering. So we act as an independent 501c3 that's wholly owned by the university, but what it does provide our customer, and I say customer writ large because it could be Special Operations Command, it could be the Army Research Lab, it could be other government entities, is we're providing them one front door to not only our engineers and the embedded engineers that we have, but also the acknowledgement that I'm not going to be the expert in everything and my engineers aren't going to be expert in everything, but we can leverage both the University of South Florida and our academic consortia to provide the best of breed answer back to the DoD and other government entities. So how we do that is this little pie over here on the right-hand side, again, with that wholly 501c3 wholly owned. So again, on that left-hand side, wholly owned 501c3, we provide that FAR and DFAR compliance. And what that means, state university, as University of South Florida is, we have to have their state compliance because, you know, all of the guidelines from there. But because we're an independent entity, we do federal compliance. 9 times out of 10, federal and state compliance doesn't line up with each other. For case in point, like per diem on states is different than per diem is on the federal regulation when you're going on travel. So things as mundane and inane, really, as per diem has different federal regulations than state regulations. So that's why we do that FAR. So that's Federal Acquisition Regulations, and the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulations. That's our compliance model. You probably have seen a lot of CMMC2 come down. So that's the Cybersecurity Model Certification. We have that and can provide that to our partnered organizations inside of our cloud environment. We also have a classified area that is cleared up to TSSCI and controlled unclassified. That's that CUI facility. And then we provide access for our customers to our institutional review board for human subjects research and for those partnered research. Again, we provide that connection across the university and the academic consortium to highly skilled talent, faculty, students, and we also do B2B work. So we do STTRs and SBIRs, that Small Business Tech Transfer Program, and that Small Business Innovation and Research Program. So the way I try to solve problems at the get-go, unless I'm dictated to by a customer to go a different direction, I will try to solve that internally. If I can't solve it, I'll reach out to the university or I reach out to the consortia, depending on the expertise. And that's talking one directional flow. the directional flow also follows another direction of universities come to us with unsolicited white papers, and we'll go through that in a little bit. Or small business and Tampa Bay community partners come to us, large primes come to us and say, hey, we want to go after this together. So it's not one direction, it's bi-directional of information and opportunities flowing both ways. We currently have 2 sole source IDIQs. So what is an IDIQ? It stands for Indefinite Delivery, Indefinite Quantity Contract. What this means is the government has the permission, sole source, so it means it doesn't have to compete it outside of us, to spend up to $85 million through the Institute of Applied Engineering. That doesn't mean that there's a magical pot of $85 million out there. I still have to go hunt and kill, and I use that in a pejorative term, but hunt down program managers that are willing to fund specific projects. The advantage of having an IDIQ means that they don't have to go through a broad agency announcement or BAA. They don't have to try and reinvent a contract. They can actually execute on that contract within 30 days and have work starting within 30 days, which for the government and for most universities is past light speed. It's plaid speed, right? And we have 2 of these sole source IDIQs. One is with DevCom's ARL, which is the Army Research Lab. The other one is with U.S. Special Operations Command. We have the blanket purchasing agreement in Central Command, which is a $10 million BPA. That's a little bit weird. I can talk offline about that one. But we're also on the SHIELD contract, which only 12 academic institutions are on the SHIELD contract, which is the Golden Dome contract. That's the one that's supposed to be able to spend $151 billion for advancements for the Golden Dome and SHIELD, where on that contract vehicle is eligible to be, awarded funding through that. What we provide is that dedicated project management across those 3, if you think about them as distinct business units. And you're firmly in this right-hand business unit, that academic consortia. And we'll talk about that in a second, of like that platform for multi-institute breast-to-breed research. What this allows you to do is not only compete against taskers that come out, but it allows you to see any tasker that comes out first, compete against it, create multi-institutional partnerships. So if you want to work with somebody from one of the other members of the consortia, it's a very easy way to do that, because all of the contracting mechanisms and all the lawyerisms that usually take months and months to get through across the wickets have already been done. And then it's free for our government POCs to use. And the task order, the TO awards again within 30 days. What I'll do is I'll skip ahead a little quickly to show you the breadth of the academic consortia. So all of these institutions are members of the academic consortia, and you can see TCRDF is there representing the 13 member institutions that they do. But these member institutions are eligible to participate, compete against any solicitation that comes through us from the federal government. Sometimes these are specified. So say you go out and you meet an Army PM at a conference that really wants to work with you. And I say PM, program manager, an Army expert that wants to work with you. Usually their first question is like, how do I work with you? This is your answer back to them. You have an avenue for them to award you funding, that they don't have to worry about competing, that they can go out and do work with you tomorrow if they do so determine that they want to do work with you. Vice versa, this is an opportunity, as I said before, for unsolicited white papers to come through and go from there. This all works through a website, which is the Academic Consortium. This is the home page for the Academic Consortia. What you'll see on that first page is the request access. And I'll go back here for 1 second. Of course, I've logged in, because let me log out real quick. And we'll log in, because this is where you, as members of the TCRDF consortia, can register yourself for an account. When you register yourself for an account, you register first name, last name, email. Please use your .edu email. What type of person you are, if you're in the admin section, if you're in R&D, if you're an executive of your institution in your position. You scroll down to here, and John will have to fix this. It just still says Tougaloo College, but TCRDF is the member institution. And then you can say what other notes that you'll have, and they get access within a day. What this provides you access to is opportunities that are currently out there. And of course, now I've got to log in again. Give me 1 second. So opportunities that are out there currently, which is one, and it's an RF sensing through obscured media. That literally came out. It's due in 2 weeks, and I think it came out last week. And this is from Army Research Lab. That's a solicitation that's just got published. But when you look in the archived, a lot of these are kind of quick turns. Some of these are purely requests for information. So the other way that the government can start and use this as a tool to see, okay, what's the latest and best research out there, is they'll put out the, hey, I don't know what's going on in this thing. So you can see down here, nuclear thermal rocket propulsion RFI. They just didn't know what was going on in nuclear thermal rocket propulsion. And frankly, I have no idea either. But they used the consortia to go out and ask for what is the latest and best research out there. 9 times out of 10, it requires a 1-pager to come back and a quad to say, okay, hey, here's what I'm doing in this. And a classic example here is this development of an advanced atomic clock. What this one was, it was created in August, and it was like a 3-month turn. And all it was looking for is, hey, we're looking for research and experts capable of developing an atomic clock within these specific parameters. I can understand a little bit of that, but I'm not an atomic clock guy. What came of this was we had 10 different institutions that solicited back quick little white papers and said, yep, we're capable of doing this. We brought 5 of those institutions and professors down to SOFWorks. We had a 3-day conference with the operators, and one of those is getting funding at the end of that. So it's a way for the government to kind of figure out what's best of breed out there and going from there. The other way that, again, I've talked about this a couple of times, is that you get to solicit and you get to put out, hey, I really want to go do this, or I want to go do X or Y. We can go from anything from, let's just pick a random one, but these are all kind of unsolicited white papers, for lack of a better term, that our partnered institutions have put up there. So anything from, and usually they come with a ROM is a rough order of magnitude. A POP is the period of performance, and they'll come with a files, and you can go, and the government POC can go in there and see, hey, this proposal at a glance is looking at soldier lethality. It's from Montana State. It's going to look at these different things. Here's the background and the team, and here's the rough budget requesting that we're looking at and the period of performance. And that way, the government, with our government POCs and our contracts, are able to go in and take a look, and they can say, okay, hey, I want to see everything that's going on air platform and what I can able to do on an air platform, because I may, at the end of the fiscal year, only have 200K. Is there a quick way to obligate 200K for a system that I may be looking at working with? And it provides them, again, that not a BAA process, again, that broad agency announcement process, but a different way that they already have that contracting mechanism through there. Trying to think, when you do register for a account in there, it'll also ask you to put in your areas of expertise and your position category. So it'll start, again, for the government POC to be coming in and looking for it. If I'm looking for all of the expertise on cyber and electronic magnetism across the consortia, I'm the government POC. You wouldn't have access to do this as a member, but the government does. That they can see, these are all my cyber and electromagnetic spectrum folks that are out there across the ecosystem that I can reach out. Because if I want to just reach out to that individual person, it'll give me that quick bio on there. I highly recommend you put in your bio in there, just a quick little thing, because then it'll let them just email you directly as a government POC. We'll go back to the slides in a second, and then we'll come back to that. So that's the academic consortia as a nutshell, going from there. What we also have embedded to the Institute is we have a rapid experimentation lab. Again, that secure facility that we can provide those type of capabilities to rapidly build and prototype. And we also provide opportunities for internships via Handshake, which if your institution has the program Handshake, they're posted on there and they're posted US wide. So the DoD will actually fund internships during the semester and during the summer that don't have to be co-located in the Tampa area,
They can be funded up and sometimes they can be funded remote. Sometimes they can be funded at a Army base, so at Fort Eustis or at ARL Aberdeen or at ARL Aberdeen and Adelphi. And they're not just looking sometimes for STEM products. They're also looking for business majors, marketing majors, but we offer the capability to go find via handshake a STEM, non-STEM, grad, non-grad, cleared, non-cleared, undergraduate or graduate, intern to support the DoD's spaces. We've talked a little bit about the projects that come through. While I was focusing a lot on STEM capabilities, not all of our projects that come through are specific to STEM. These are some of the projects that we've come through in the last 6 years through our contract vehicles and represent a little bit of what I would call the greatest hits. Everything from a learning management system that teaches how to work with IoT devices and robotics and autonomy, and that's designed for operators in the field, to how to identify internet IoT devices that could be connected to explosive devices. If you recall back in the early days of the Iraq and Afghanistan war, IEDs were set off by cell phones. Well, now in an IoT world, now I've got 10,000 IoT devices out there that I needed to be able to detect, deny, degrade, defeat that IoT device that could be connected to an explosive. We all work heavily in the area of quantum communications and quantum encryption. There's a whole plethora of work going on there. And of course, the DoD is out in front of that. We've used this actual last one, went through the consortia. This was working with FIU and UCF to use lightning to detect things that you can't see with sonar or radar. Next one was using, for Iridium, was utilizing the Iridium network on a low unattended, low swap unattended ground sensor that utilized the Iridium network to relay. We've worked with voice-activated large language models. That's that human augmentation and the integration and designing a large language model that can operate at the speed of the operator, but also operate at the edge, on the edge. So getting those large language models tuned to be instantaneous and operate on the edge is an incredibly tough thing. We've done business case analysis. So this was literally a supply chain analysis of the fleet of special operations vehicles. And I apologize, I talk in acronyms all the time. But looking at their vehicles they purchased over 20 years, what's their supply chain? What's their, their resupply? Whoop. And we went back from there, everything back to there. We also work in the health spectrum. This repetitive low-level blast exposure was looking at soft operators over the past, over their career, how they've reacted to low-level blasts. So this is not a traumatic incident. This is not concussive brain, like CTE from like football. This is just being around guns, being around shoot houses, how that's actually affected the brain tissue. We're working with Mass General on this one. It made 60 Minutes last April or May, I believe. We're working with augmented and virtual reality. So looking at seeing the cognitive load that you can get in inside of those training ecosystems. I'm a former pilot, as I said before. I always knew when my co-pilot was way behind the jet. I could take control of the jet, let that co-pilot kind of decompress, catch up to where the jet was now. But how do you do that in a training environment that is augmented reality or virtual reality or extended reality? We do what's called AOAs too. Those are future analysis of requirements according to what the opposition forces are going to do. Lots of intelligence on that one. Those are very highly classified. This next one was again utilizing our medical technology, utilizing DNA as a storage device. And then we also touch on the liberal arts and sciences. This one is creating a transnational influence and capability index. So how do you quantify what we call gray zone operations? So gray zone or left of impact of like those soft operations, and I not mean soft as in special operations forces, but building a bridge somewhere, doing information operations, doing psychological operations. How do you quantify that in the terms of influence for the country in question? So how do you look at that and you say, okay, country, because I built a bridge in country Y, they've actually, their posture as a country has moved closer towards us, or it's moved further away from us, even though we did something theoretically positive inside that country. As we talk about the DevCom IDIQ, because that's kind of the bigger one, because there's bigger pockets there, because it's Army versus Special Operations Command. Special Operations Command, very unique and technology driven, but doesn't have as deep as pockets as Big Army does. This contract has 16 focus areas that are so wide open that you can literally drive a truck and a plane through at the same time. So you can see in there energy sciences, human and complex systems, mechanical sciences. We can fit anything that we really need to inside these 16 focus areas and achieve what the contract is going for. And again, it's not $85 million that we just get to pick and choose from the 85 mil. We have to go out and find, and we have business development folks that are out there up in Virginia, up in DC. They're talking to program managers every day to figure out what their needs are so we can leverage both USF and the consortia to fill the need of DevCom and ARL. So that's kind of how that works there. It's not just all magical and we just get to take 85 mil as we see fit. The 5-year 85 mil, we're on our third task order. It got awarded in September, the contract did. And we've got 5 years to do as much as we can on the contract that we can. And trust me, the director of ARL, John and I were on a call with him a couple months ago, and he wants to see this as maximized as much as possible. So he's a big fan of this contract and the vehicle. You may or may not have noticed this, but at the same time that the government shut down, the government acquisition process has realigned itself, which is very painful for a guy like me in government acquisition, to what we call these program acquisition executives. So imagine these as not stovepipes, but functional areas that acquisition and money is flowed through. So if I'm talking to the Army and it's air related, I'm going to go over to the folks that are aligned with the program acquisition executives, so PAE, for PAE maneuver air. If I'm talking to them about ground autonomy, I'm going to go to the maneuver ground. If I'm talking to them about lethality and fires, I see fires, and you can see that there's 6+1 is what they like to call it. So there's the 6 primary program acquisition executives plus the +1, which is the pathway for innovation. So what we try to do is align our capabilities and align our resources similarly to the Army so that we can speak from academia to, for lack of a better term, green. And I say, Army is green, to make sure that we're speaking along the same language. Because what I want to do, and I'll get back to here, is this is how you as a PI and a professor go from the discovery stage to the contract commit. What we try to do at that first stage is understanding where your capabilities come into play. And that's going to come in, this is that left side of the slide here. That's going to come in while you're registering to the academic consortia, sharing your bio, sharing your capabilities, us continually scanning for relevant capabilities that are going to come through. When we see that that specific match, then we're able to engage the customer, meet with them to clarify their problem statement, and then align it across the consortia or align it through to a specific university or specific PI. Then we get those kind of conversations happening between government PM and professor and PI to evaluate the feasibility. And I'll be frank, not often do we find a completely aligned professor and government PM. 99 times out of 100, the program manager on the Army wants something specific. The PI or professor has specific interests that they want to research. And there is a small sliver of that Venn diagram that overlap. It's our job at IEE to make sure that that's overlap is more concentric, to make sure that the program manager on the Army side's desires are met and the desires of the professor and PI in what they want to go after and research align conveniently with the program manager on the Army side of what they want to see in the hands of the operators. What is really crucial here is to understand and to shape your research into how not just it's going to be the effects of the research. What does that mean in terms of the operator at hand? Sorry, I saw a chat come up. General Gordon Bray's helping. Yeah, there you go. So what this means is that, say I'm researching purple-headed unicorns and that's my passion. And I want to show that I want to get the Army to fund me to research purple-headed unicorns. I need to show how the purple-headed unicorn is going to be the best thing for the Army soldier or the Navy sailor or the Air Force airman out there, to make sure that they understand why your research is important on the ground floor. What we've seen in the past 2 years, or really over the past year, is a shift of funding away from what we used to likely call 6-1 research, and that is fundamental research, to more 6-2 and 6-3 of applied research, to make sure that the government is getting a deliverable and something on time that's going to matter to the soldier, sailor, airman, marine. And that is really important in that engaged and qualified segment, to make sure that we do that, to make sure that they fund you to the max extent possible. Then we can shape that project and refine that project as much as we can, and then we get that on the contract, we can commit. So I know I've been talking for a while. I'll pause there. I'll stop sharing unless you need me to bring something up, and stand by your questions and slings and arrows and all the way through there.
Thank you so much, Taylor. If you would like to come off mute and ask your question, please do so. Or if you'd like to place your question in the chat, you may do so as well. So, Taylor, as we wait for questions, if, let's say, one of our schools, let's say, is interested in working through this process, what would be the first step for them to do? I know you've already said to.
Yep. The first
register.
step is either it's registering as a, and we've had ADRs, so Assistant Deans for Research, register, so they're able to scale it within their school or their institution. And we've had individual professors. So I would recommend that the most amount of people that can register to the consortia site allows them the visibility to see what's out there and what's coming through for next requirements. That would be the first step. The second step, I would say, and then you'll get it on there on a contact us on the website, is if you already are working with a government PM or you've had discussions with the government PM and you just haven't figured out how to really put the money where the mouth is, or where their mouth is, and how to get them really onto contract, we can help navigate that and link it up and provide that government PM with, hey, you may or may not know, because ARL is huge, right? They may or may not know that we exist to help them obligate money and make sure it goes to you, if that makes any sense.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Dr. Sweets.
First of all, thanks for the promotion. I'm not a doctor, but I'm interested in this because, say for instance, we have a strong relationship with ARL, many of the DoD agencies. Now, is this across all federal government or just DoD only? That's my first question.
Right now, it's across DoD. That doesn't mean that the rest of the federal government can't utilize it. So
Okay.
our SOCOM IDIQ, because they're special, they only like to do special things, so they keep it peculiar to that. It is a DevCom ARL contract, but the Navy has also already asked to use it. The Army's already and the Air Force already asked to use it. I don't see a problem with another government agency. They would MIPR the money, so it's a multi-department interventional government transfer or purchase requisition over to the Army for execution.
And my next question is there a ceiling that we can go up to? Because say, for instance, let's just say I'm working with TRMC or ARL, either one of those guys, and I'm already working with the program manager, and we already negotiated everything up down to the price. Is it like 3 million, 4 million, 7 million? Is there a certain ceiling?
There's no ceiling right now. $85 million was awarded as the entire contract ceiling based on the warrant that they had. There's no individual limit for the individual task order. There's a minimum, which I believe is 50,000.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm looking for the millions and above.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
Got it.
if you bring a $30 million contract tomorrow, gladly process it through.
Okay, good. That's not that. Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And so that does bear, you do bring up one, probably a key targeting point. So because this is a contract, this deals with what we call G&A, so goods and general administration charges. It's different than F&A. So F&A you're very familiar with, that's your grant institution, because this is a pass-through. The G&A fees and overhead cost pools are a little bit different. because these are contracts, and we can talk about that on an individual basis just based on what the government does, but it's fundamentally different than F&A, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, we've done this before with other UARCs and things like that. So I just wanted to make sure you
Yeah.
okay.
No, I'm not tracking on you. I just make sure that everybody
it's
else
all good.
understands. It's a very common issue, unfortunately, that some professors don't understand.
I'm good. Green is
DNA.
green. I could care less. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no worries.
Okay. Dr. Chandra, you have the mic.
Whether I don't know whether you can see me or not, but I try to enable everything. I am at the Hampton University in Hampton in biological sciences, and it's a old university and it's a private university, HBCU, of course. I see the biological component there, biological sciences component there. So, do you think that the biological sciences can be included in one of the programs and grants you have? Taylor?
Yes. So right now we have 2 ongoing projects. Obviously, the one I talked about, brain health. The other one was talking about was with our medical engineering department, looking at low-level pulses to microfluidics inside of a specific organ. I'll just let it go there because when I start talking to the specific organ, the microfluidics, then you can guess where that's going. And we also have 2 projects that have been briefed to the DHA director last week for funding. So the DHA director, Vice Admiral Rhea, is looking at utilizing this for 2 programs. One is on musculoskeletal, and the other one is looking at, again, small animal vivarium and electromagnetic pulses.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. And that's the beautiful thing about leveraging our IRB, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
IRBs are painful, as you know.
Right. Thank you for that information. I appreciate that.
Yep, no worries.
Mr. Sweets.
So if I understand this going forward, once you guys got the contract vehicle, we go through, get everything identified, we get the contract on deck, and then you guys don't have to be involved with our tech transfer, correct? Just mainly
Nope.
You're the administrator and make sure the funds are available, and we go directly with the agency. Do we have to include you in meetings or be in the loop of anything?
We'll assign you a project manager because we'll have a project manager to make sure that you're delivering because it's on our contract vehicle.
Yep.
You don't have to use your URA. The project manager will do everything for you. So if you need to buy equipment, we'll buy it for you. If you need to buy anything like that, so that project manager, if your question is regarding if you need to file a patent, you can go through our tech transfer office and we can do all that process for you. If you want to do it internally to your own tech transfer office at your university, you can. IP, government reserves on this exclusive use rights, but it's still your IP. It's not our IP because you're developing it.
Okay, that's why I wanted to make sure that the lines of demarcation are clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
No worries.
We have any more questions? Well, seeing none, Taylor, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. And for all of those on the line, we really appreciate you being here as well. This is one of several sessions in our series. We'll do another one in May. That has not been announced just yet, but we will announce the next one for May in the near future. We will make the slides available to everybody who's participated in today's call. And if you have questions or need more information, the information there will be there for you to reach out. Taylor, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We've had a good experience working with you, and we look forward to bringing more schools to the table to do more greater work together.
Ditto. Thank you so much, John, for the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. McCarthy, for coordinating everything. I will put my information, like my email, in the chat in case anybody needs it. And I will make sure that the slides get to Dr. Rosenthal and Dr. McCarthy, and they will send it out from there.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event.